So I'll start off by, sorry, I'm also hungry. I'll start off by doing a round of introduction to my panelists, and I don't know where Jasan is, but we'll proceed with our two able panelists. So I'll start off with Mr. Kant. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's your perception in terms of user financing, end user financing.
Right, so is this working? Yeah, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Kant. I work at Electric Transit Africa. We are an EV leasing company and a charging infrastructure company. On the one hand, we lease out electric vehicles, electric cars, provide a comprehensive package, including the vehicle, financing, maintenance, insurance, together with partners. And then on the other hand, we try to build a dedicated and tailored charging infrastructure network. Currently in Kenya, and also looking forward to expanding into other countries in the future. Your question was what about the perception, right?
What's your idea around end user financing, based on what you do?
Yeah, so I can mostly speak to it from a commercial point of view. Our customers are in a commercial setting, B2B, large customers. I think there the most important thing in terms of the financing model is they want to have predictability in the cash flows. So they want to have a fixed fee for the next couple of years. So I think that has been the most important thing. For example, in the security industry, we are exploring other models as well, where we would match, for example, in the tourism industry, round trips for shuttles, and we would match the price they pay with the voyages they make. So I think we're quite open to it. On the one hand, looking at predictability, if that is what customers require, but also open for other models. So let me pause there for a second.
All right, we'll move on to our second panelist, Jennifer. Please take it over.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself and also what's your idea around.
Yeah. So my name is Jennifer Kinyoe. I'm the managing director of Loxea. Loxea is the leasing company for CFAO Mobility. We are a subsidiary of CFAO, and we've been in operation since 2009. We were formerly known as Tusho Capital, for those who dealt with Tusho Capital in the earlier days. Then I'm also the MD of BYD. CFAO Mobility got the dealership for BYD, and we are doing the franchise through Loxea in the whole of Africa, where we have the distributorship. And at Loxea, we do leasing, operating leases and finance leases. And we've been doing this for many years. And what we've noted is that Kenyans actually want the assets. Businesses need the assets. But then the challenge is in getting approvals for the financing. So as a company, we mostly deal with multinationals and large corporations for good reason, because in most cases you find that end users, businesses, especially the local SMEs, you find that their financials do not actually meet the target of the loans or the financing that they're looking for. But things are changing. We are becoming better at evaluating and looking at the cash flows, even without necessarily, seeing that in the business itself, looking at future cash flows. And when it comes to BYD, what I'm seeing is that people want the vehicles, and especially the new models that we've just launched, and in particular, the BYD Shark 6. And Kenyans want the car. They want to use it, and they love it. But then again, most of them are going to the banks, and the banks are saying your cash flows do not qualify you for a loan. So what we've done is we've partnered with a bank, a local bank, NCBA, and they are financing up to 90%. They're also quite flexible on the repayment terms because they are giving you up to 60 months. And then they're also giving a moratorium to the customers. So these are some of the solutions we are looking for our end users to ensure that the vehicles are on the roads and not in the showroom.
As we still get to you, you tell us, how did you nail it to get a structure between yourself and NCBA? Because most of our startups are trying to do the same, but we are hitting our... Tell us.
So I can start from the beginning. We launched BYD a year ago. We launched with the 3 SUVs, the Sea Lion 6, Sea Lion 7, and the Atto 3. We also launched a small sedan, the Dolphin, and we launched the Dolphin and also a sedan, the BYD Seal. We've been on it for a year, and we realized that banks are not financing. And the reason they were not financing, they were not understanding the risks. And therefore, we sat back and said, how are we going to convince the banks someone here said that, I think it's Britam, that the risk is on electric vehicles. I mean, it's like the fire. They don't know whether the batteries will be usable tomorrow. They don't know who to sell to when the vehicles are not paid for by the end users. So the banks felt like the risk was too high for electric vehicles. So we started a journey of education. We spoke to several banks. The good thing about NCBA is that they got us. They understood, and I believe they have some support from green financing. And because of the education, working together, we've been working together for a year. We finally said, let's do this and test with a few users. The model is working. People are repaying. We gave a guarantee of 8 years on the battery because that was the issue that the bank was having mostly. Like, what am I going to do if I have to repossess a car? What will happen to the battery? If I have to replace the battery, what happens to the bank loan? Will the loan now be even more because then you're trying to repossess a car that is not fully paid and you have to pay more for the battery? So it's education, it's building awareness, and also just working closely with the partners to ensure that you come up with an MOU that actually supports the end users. So with 90%, it means that you can literally, any one of us, if you can afford, I think the repayment should be around 100,000 a month, you can afford to actually start driving the car today with 90% financing. And then they have a moratorium of 60 days. That means for the next 2 months, you're not repaying once you get the car. And I think they also had an offer where the first 5 customers, they were not charging the arrangement fees. So it's just enticing the solutions that the customers actually adopted.
Thank you very much. I believe some banks here have taken notes of that. Enticing, incentivizing, catalyzing, Moving on to Jasan on the two-wheeler space. You can maybe tell us, do you have any other products? Tell us what you're also doing on end-user financing as well at M-Kopa.
Hi, everyone. Is it audible? Yeah. Okay. My name is Jasan. I work at M-Kopa. We finance a few products, but I'm here to represent financing of electric bikes. That is the only product we have now for mobility. Looking at probably financing three-wheelers soon. So in terms of financing two-wheelers, the structure is, first of all, we have to start with a rule of thumb where finance has to follow cash flow. So most people get that wrong. And for you to structure a pay-as-you-go plan, which is what is used mostly by riders, border guys and all that, you have to understand their cash flow. So those guys either get money daily, weekly, or monthly. So first of all, you have to find a suitable structure for the market you are aiming for. And for these EVs that we've sold mostly, they go to border guys. Those guys get income or revenue on a daily basis. And when they wake up the following morning, they start at zero. So you have to structure your repayment model on how to ensure that on a daily basis, when they have that money, they remit back to you, right? So that's how we have structured ours. I think it's mostly what the other pay-as-you-go financing companies have done. And that really has helped a lot. We have some other kind of customers, which include businesses who have fleets that would want to buy a huge number of bikes, 150 at a go. So for those also, you have to think about how do you structure the model for them, right? For businesses who would go for that, you would be much better inclined to give them a monthly repayment, right? And it does not mean they need to have ultimate ownership of the asset as well, because most companies would not want that at the end of the leasing of the period. So for most of them, they would prefer even a lease model where costs to use the bike are predictable, if I'd say that, which includes maintenance and service. So in terms of two-wheelers, in a nutshell, I can conclude and say structuring the repayment model is one of the most important and basic that you should start with.
Just as you have the mic, tell us about SME financing to M-Kopa, because there are a lot of delivery companies coming into the space, and fleet security companies. How do you intend to finance such an end user, for example?
Yeah, so for SME companies that we have worked with already and we are looking to work with also, is that we have to also we have to assess the risk factor of each SME differently. For example, if it's a delivery company, you have to take the necessary kind of KYC and assess how much risk is this customer. So I'd say we are already doing that, and we also structure a different payment plan for them. It has to be less expensive than the normal B2C that you would give out, because there's a quote unquote guarantee income business, right? So what we've done so far is we give them a cheaper financing than the ordinary border person that comes along. Right.
All right, great. Coming to Mr. Kant, you've talked about bundled, sort of asset financing or leasing, where you include probably your payment, your charging, your maintenance. Is it something that can work for end users? And have you tried it before? Or what has been the response?
Well, so currently we're focused on large companies. So I think, you could say, for example, in the security business, I think there, who's the end customer there, right? I think the company is using the vehicles. They want predictability in their cash flows. So I think there it's relatively simple. I think it becomes a bit more complex when you, as Jason also mentioned, want to really structure it on a cash flow basis, especially more in the consumer business, I think. So I think we've not experimented with that to a large extent, but we are open for it, I think, in a business setting where, as I said before, for example, when providing shuttle services, you can match cash flows with the payments for the lease. So I think there you would help end users to finance it.
Right. And for your financing model, what are your rates like? How affordable are they? And how do you intend to grow?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think so we provide an all-in fee typically. We have the way we are financed is based on equity, also looking for debt, I think, at, for example, concessional and also above concessional rates. And that helps us to provide competitive rates. I think one of the challenges, obviously, as everyone has talked about before, is how can you scale up and how can you attract appropriate financing, for example, here in the local business. So happy to hear, for example, Loxea has arranged some financing there. So I think that will be one of the things that we will be exploring further in the next couple of months.
Right. I bet everything will look up well. Sure, out of all of us, how many own an EV? End users. Drive one. So you can see from all of us here, the potential is big, and whoever is leasing or selling EVs. Secondly, the appetite of electric vehicles, and I'd like to just prepare the audience to tell us what are your fears towards adoption of EVs, because we can't be speaking about EVs yet We are driving our diesel, petrol. Yeah, so I'll pick a few people here to tell us why, but I'll throw it back to Jennifer to tell us how are you planning to finance? You see a lot of customers. Yeah, how are you planning to finance at good rates? You mentioned about green financing with NCBA. How does that look like? Is it cheaper? We were given the case of Rwanda by Marumbo, 10 to 12%. That's really impressive. Yeah.
So what I can say is electric vehicles are not cheap. And the reason they are not cheap is not because the Chinese or who the manufacturers are selling them for too much money. It's because of our taxes. So duty, 35%. I'm talking about full EV. Excise, 10%. VAT, which is a cost to you, the end user, 16%. Other small duties, 6%. So you find that by the time you're getting the vehicle, the duties are at 67% to 77%, depending on whether it's HEV or PHEV. So PHEV, the excise is 20%. So the only incentive for passenger cars in Kenya is the reduction of excise from 20% to 10%. So I can give you an example. We are bringing in a small vehicle, which is very good for the taxi business. It's $10,000 to $12,000 in China, but here it's getting here at 3.5 million. Reason? The taxes. So if the government can do something, already the cost comes down. So we'll even stop talking about bank loans because we can afford. I mean, 3.4 million and you're having cash flows every day if you're a taxi person or if you're running errands and delivering for Carrefour or whichever other company. You will make money and you'll be able to repay. So the issue is the government and taxes, and we need incentives for this to work. So one of the models is obviously what we are doing with the banks, but we're also working with other development partners who have funding. And I've had a few names here. I'll be going to get that name very soon, whereby we are saying, why don't you guarantee the off-takers? And then the off-takers are able to pay per day. For instance, this vehicle, my dream would be for the taxi person to pay like 3,000 a day. Remember, it's a full EV, so no fuel. So 3,000 a day, most of these taxi guys are making about 6,000 to 9,000 per day. They'll be able to pay that, and because the fuel cost is not there, it makes a lot of sense for them. So for you guys in the room who are doing financing, think about a vehicle that would actually save the environment for starters and be affordable for the taxi business or for the delivery businesses. And you can pay per day, you can pay per week or per month, depending on what the end user wants. So such models are things that we are working on with financiers to see how best can we get the cars on the road. We do not want them in the factory. We don't want them in the showrooms or go downs and warehouses. We want them on the road. The other model is obviously the leasing model. We understand that leasing has a lot of benefits for the customers. You have tax benefits. You have the benefit of getting the fleet today and paying in the future with your future cash flows. So our leasing model works in a way that you tell us whether you want 48 months, 60 months, 36 months. You tell us your mileages per day, how many kilometers are you doing per day, and then we compute that into an annual mileage, and we give you the repayment based on your requirements. So we tailor make it for you. And then you pay on a monthly basis. We maintain and service and insure the vehicle up to the end of the lease. The vehicle actually belongs to the leasing company. All you do is use. So we transfer the use, the economic use, while we retain the ownership. And at the end of the lease, we take the vehicles back and sell them. So for electric vehicles, I believe leasing model also works very well. And that's why CFAO as a company decided to promote the BYD through the leasing company, because we believe that a lot of the customers will be leasing them. Yeah.
Indeed, it's a emerging model, and especially like the B2C pay per day. Banks in the room, hi. So you hear you'll be getting money per day in case it's bank-backed leasing. tongue twisters and guarantees. Yeah, so ideally, I hear you, especially for the taxi business. I've been doing it for quite a while. We've been deployed up to 65 units of the taxis. You've seen the two small Henrys around. Yeah, so these guys pay per day. They pay 2,400, they are paying 2,800, 3,000, and they're paying daily. That taxi, when somebody defaults and it is returned, by the following day it's picked up because they're making money. When they offset 1,000 shillings or even up to 2,000 shillings in fuel cost, I bet they'll easily afford the 3,000. So we want to encourage even all of us here. Now you can lease a vehicle for 3,000, isn't it? So I want to throw it to the audience a bit and tell me, what's your fear of getting an EV of your own? Yeah, just thank you very much. You'll get extra dessert.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian. I work for a company called Ampersand. And I just want to throw it right away to the panel. So obviously, for me, why I wouldn't get an EV right now, speaking from a consumer point of view, one is affordability and also access to the loans. So I'd like to throw it back to the panel. What is it that we are doing to ensure that there is a proper affordability for end consumers, but also these loans are actually accessible to the end consumers? So an example of, for example, the two-wheelers, we understand how our typical boda riders, daily income, behavior change, and all that aspect. What are we doing as the financiers who are already pushing for this uptake to ensure that even in the future there is proper preparation in terms of scale and the uptake for the market? Thank you.
It's a good one. Anybody else? We need two more to balance it. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Nikabet Gaddafa from Fiti Telematics, and so mine is based on, let me say, true story. Last year I was involved in a project, like we'd travel a lot in the country. Okay, so Nairobi, Garissa, Mombasa, back to Nairobi. Now, if I was to buy an EV, there's something called anxiety range. If even I think the best model we have is 400 to 500 kilometers, that can't be able to serve me because I'll have to wait almost 22 hours for charging with a normal consumer unit, right? And I need to travel. So mine will be the anxiety range as compared to even the affordability. Yeah.
Thank you. That's about range. We have Winnie, please. Then I also need to hear from government. Government.
So hello everyone. My name is Winnie. I'm the e-mobility projects lead for Jacob's Ladder Africa. So for me, from my experience as a fleet manager, I'm one of the pioneer EV fleet managers in this country. And I've watched vehicles die and just get parked in basements, etc. So mine would be about replacement costs, just battery life and replacement costs, because the replacement costs are quite high and expensive. And when it comes to giving them the batteries a second life, the systems are still undeveloped, and it's something that needs to be looked at.
Thank you so much, Winnie. That's about after sales, end of life, and how it do. We've had projects where we had Nissan Leafs that were doing probably 100 kilometers. Now we replace the batteries. Now they're doing some 350, others doing 580 kilometers. So technology is fast evolving. I want to put our chief on the spot. Tell us, Nairobi City County, why is the e-mobility not working? I work.
Thank you very much. I think the county, yes, we are working with everybody who wants to support this kind of initiative. Where I sit in terms of transporters who are in circles, we are assisting because I know the banks and the financials. You are looking at these circles being following the law and also being compliant with the Cooperatives Act. And one of the Cooperatives Act requirement is that they must have bylaws that speak to what you want to finance. So yes, we are supporting them to actually put the right or that component about borrowing, and also that component about the amount of money, borrowing powers. We are assisting them to do that, and even to do documents that are good for that. We are also training them, capacity building. One of the things that I will not encourage the financials is also to lend to circles that have issues with governance. Governance is everything. Actually, everything rises and falls with leadership, and leadership is about governance. So yes, we are looking at that, and we are ensuring that the elected people can be able to stand up to this challenge. So government is there. We are also working in terms of, currently we are doing the policy on e-mobility, and we are also doing other policies that will support this endeavor. And we are asking the partners, stakeholders, please come forward and support us financially, resources, so that we can be able to complete this. It's also an expensive undertaking that will require even your input as well as we do this. So we'll be calling upon you, but again, we want you to come forward. Those who have resources that they can support policy development, we want to work together. And with me, we are privileged to have somebody from the assembly, and he can attest to that for us to do a policy, it has to go through them so that it can be approved and it becomes an active legislation. Thank you.
Just a quick one. Why is the county looking to get its own fleet as a user, and what would be the fears of getting them? We know government is procedural, but
yes,
if you can highlight a bit. Yeah.
Yes, I can highlight that. I know we have been pushing to have that, but for us as a government works in a certain way. For us, yeah, I was talking about, not the engineer, there's somebody from the ministry who was talking about the policy having gone through, so that when we go for clearance from the mechanical engineering department to buy vehicles, they're able to clear the county so that they can purchase. We have been having a budget to purchase vehicles, but because of that, we can't get clearance. Those are government procedures. So if that has been done, I'm sure by the next 1 year, we are going to have a lot of vehicles in Nairobi County that are EVs. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's a good response, and we know the steps to take towards getting into government. Let me take it to Jasan. You could speak towards accessibility and affordability of finance. There is a question that was asked by Vivian. How can we make financing mobility very accessible and affordable?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, Vivian. But I'll say it's a paradox question coming from you. You know why. So Ampersand is one of our suppliers of the EV. So when we talk about the cost of buying being expensive for the end consumer, it's a journey that I think the last two panels have gone through. So it starts from financing the OEM first. So if the cost of financing the OEM, in this case, let me use Ampersand. If the cost of financing Ampersand to manufacture bikes is already expensive, the cost of that bike will be expensive coming out to the market, right? So again, the cost of financing a microfinance is not as cheap. So it's kind of bundled costs that are ultimately laid out to the end consumer, who is the border guy. So in trying to solve that, I think the last two panels have given their own ideas to try and do that. But from our perspective, one of the things that we really thought of and we saw as a good a good initiative to allow guys to buy EVs is one, reduce the cost of entry. Cost of entry in this case would be a deposit or a down payment. Comparatively with an ICE bike, right now, on average, EVs go for around 25,000. ICE bikes go from 50 to 60. Steve from what you can confirm about that. So the first point of entry for an average consumer is paying up the deposit to acquire that asset. So if we reduce that significantly, there will be an improvement in terms of buying the stock, right? Then the other one is, and this we have an insurance guy. The other cost that is given to the end consumer is insurance. This is something that has not been spoken out about for long, especially EV, because the risk assessed on EV is not well informed, if I'll say that, for the assets. So this has gone to an extent where we have some insurance companies who traditionally we should have a comprehensive insurance for an asset, right? But you'll find insurance companies now, because of lack of that information about EVs and the cost, they split out that comprehensive coverage. So they will split it out in different companies. One will take the asset form, the other one will take the battery or something else. Working with two different insurance companies for the same asset already increases that cost again. So if you can have, and I had someone from the group talk about information. A lot of us are always attending these conferences. Sorry if I come out wrongly, but we are not transferring our information and knowledge outside there to the people that matter most. For us, the people that matter most are those guys that we work with, insurance, banks and all. But the most important one is the end user, the boda guy, the driver and all those. We are not taking this information to them because as a market, when we have high demand, the costs somehow play around that as well, right? So if you can create demand as good as possible with the right information out there, I'm sure even the costs of all this will go down. So Vivian, I think I've answered your question, but the punchline for me on that is let's transfer this information that we get here outside there. Once an insurance guy understands how EV works, the risks are not as high as ICE bikes, right? We are now put in the same bucket as any other ICE bike. And as you know, the risk in terms of insurance of an ICE bike is quite high. I know most financiers do not actually give insurance currently because most insurance companies opted out of it. So probably along that line, information needs to be passed to insurance guys to also know how EV works, right? Telematics in EV is everything, unlike the ICE bike. So I'll talk about the two models very quickly. One is the swap model. There's no way a person riding a swap model will get lost or the bike will be stolen. That's 100% risk proof because you must go to a swap station, right? Insurance companies have not understood that. For the other home charge, most of those batteries are now coming with IoT, which means that they can actually deactivate that battery if need be, along with the bike. So in case of the bike being stolen or the battery getting lost, they can easily switch off everything. So there's no movement at all. So in terms of risk, I think insurance has not gotten to the point of understanding the risk factor for this bike is not as equal as for the ICE bike, right? The only risk factor that would be put in for both is in terms of an accident, right? But even for that, electric bikes have a speed limit. For those who have electric bikes, please confirm, right? And in terms of safety, we have to train them before even buying the bike. Unlike the ICE bike where you just pop into any shop, buy the bike and go, right? So information has to be out there to the relevant guys, and also point of entry has to be made very affordable.
Thank you, Jasan. And maybe just to highlight a few things happening in the developed world, the battery leasing is catching up quite much, especially in India and China. In China, we have 3 big automotive companies such as NIO. So with NIO, you buy the vehicle without the battery. So basically, you'll be leasing the battery, but at a cheaper cost than fueling. It's the same model Basigo is running here, where they separate. So you can lease the entire bus, or you can lease the battery. So that's also another way of creating accessibility. If we can go that to a cross-board, I think on the motorcycle side, it's good. In the bus, it's good. Now in the 4-wheeler passenger commercial space, maybe that's an interesting conversation to have. And maybe taking it to Jennifer, touch a little bit on that. Are you looking at that strategy? Plus also respond to the gentleman's question on range anxiety, because I know the Shark 6 is not a pure EV, so you'll be cheating.
Yeah.
But it's a good start, because you can do 70 to 100 kilometers. Yeah.
So on the issue of affordability and access to loans, I think just working with the banks to ensure that the loans are affordable is one of the things that we're doing. The other one is definitely lobbying with the government, because as I said, these vehicles are not expensive. They're just made expensive by the taxes. So the lobbying through EMAK and other bodies, there are quite a number of people lobbying with the government to have the taxes, to have some exemptions on EVs, and hopefully this will happen soon. So on the issue of range anxiety, so let me talk from a BYD perspective, because that's what I know best. So we realized that in Kenya, EVs may not be adopted as soon as we want them to be adopted because of range anxiety. And number one reason is because the charging stations are just very few, like 70. And that's a very small number. And for you to adopt EVs, you need to know that you go from point A to Z and you will not have to stall. From here to Mombasa, I'm not even sure whether the station is up and running. I don't know if Romano is in the room, but I believe we don't have like a good charging station between here and Mombasa. So that means that you cannot actually buy an EV with 380 to 450 kilometers range, because you not even get to that destination. So what we've done, we brought in the plug-in hybrid models. So it's an EV because you can plug it in and charge and use it 100% on charge, and it has a battery, but it also has an engine in addition to the motor and the battery. And this engine is a small engine. Most of them have a 1500cc engine, but the power comes from the battery. So the torque, especially for the BYD Shark, is 650. That's very huge. That's like the big cars, the Prados, the LC300s, and the sports cars. So with PHEV, the range is between 650 to 1200 actually kilometers. Like the plug-in hybrid pickup, the range is 650 kilometers, meaning you can go to Mombasa and spend a few days still on the same charge, full tank. The tank is 60 liters. The CC is 1500 cc, but because the power is coming from the battery, the car has the same power as the EVs. Then we have another one, the Sea Lion 6. It's a SUV. It has a range of 1,100 kilometers, meaning you can actually go and come back. Full tank, full charge. What this tells you is that with PHEV, the cost savings are out of this world. they're actually more than 50% cost savings. Because when you think of going to Mombasa with 60 liters is about 12,000 thereabout, and a full charge on a 33 kilowatt battery should be about 1,000. So with less than 15,000, you actually get to Mombasa, and no stopping in the middle because it's a PHEV. So that for us is one of the things we're doing. The other thing about the electric vehicles is that they're coming with a personal charger. So you get a 7 to 11 kilowatt charger that you install at your house or at your office. So you never have to worry. The same way you go and plug in your phone in the evening as you're going to bed, you plug in your vehicle, the following morning you're on full charge. So in most cases, say you have a vehicle of 400 kilometers, you probably do 100 a day. So once you've done your 100 a day, go back home. It's a 60 kilowatt battery in most cases. You have 20 kilowatt to charge for the night. That should not even take you the whole night on a 7 kilowatt battery. And you just plug it in every day. We build for you the station once you sell you the car. So you will have your support there to ensure that you don't have range anxiety. So the vehicles coming with the charger, the PHEVs, and the third one is government and KPLC are working really hard. There was a tender that I saw, and I'm really hoping it's done soon, where they wanted to put charging stations across the country. There's also KPLC's efforts to put, and I believe they're in the room. Maybe they can mention how far that is going. But I know there's an effort by KPLC to put up chargers across the country. You've seen a lot of malls actually have chargers. And I don't think range anxiety will be an issue in the next few years in Kenya.
Can I maybe add on that for a second? Maybe to echo some of the points that you made, I totally agree there that I think it is currently a topic, but maybe not so far in the future. I think it is a topic that we encounter currently every day. I think that it's also always a question from the customer. So how can we avoid any range anxiety? I feel it's a topic that we should take as a whole ecosystem. So I think it's the government that should play a role, which you already mentioned. I think it's every player here that's active in the EV industry, and I think it's also that we need to focus more on interoperability of the different charging operators. So I think currently every operator is building its own network, and I think there's still a gap there in making sure that the end consumer can actually access all of the charge points. I think if we do that and build the ecosystem together, I think we should be in a better position to also roll out more of the electric vehicles.
Correct, and especially installation of DC fast chargers. Let's start moving away from Nairobi. Yeah, we are still focused here. So I want to put a good gentleman who was mentioned earlier, Jeff from Vivo, on the spot after Dennis answers a question here, alongside warranties, maintenance, and what else was it called? Serviceability and afterlife of the battery, because consumers are concerned before they go to the bank, equity confirmed, they say that the vehicle is expensive. Sometimes there's another financial say that perhaps the vehicle, the warranty is shorter than the repayment period. How do you address that?
Yeah, so I think so far we've mostly done longer term leases where the warranty of the battery has not been shorter than the lease terms. I think that's not an issue that we've run into actually. I think so far we've been working with partners to provide a comprehensive package. I do see that it's a potential issue or a potential concern with customers, but I think we've been able to address it so far.
How are you convincing them?
Yeah, I think what's most important for them is knowing that they have a vehicle that is new, for example, that has the proper warranties, has good maintenance partners, good insurance, and a fixed fee. And I think, having them using the vehicle and being very satisfied with it, I think that's been a testament to that strategy.
Right, that's good. Maybe Jeff, if you're able to talk about your plans. You see, all of us have EVs. Some of us, have EVs here, and some of us are looking to get into an EV, but we don't have charging stations. You run one of the biggest, network of petrol stations. Tell us, what's your plan? When are you getting a charger in Kisumu? By the way, let me tell you, I've done so many trips between Nairobi and Mombasa. Guess where I charge? at a carpenter's place. My friends along these highways are carpenters and welders. So please tell us how we can collaborate.
Yeah, Dennis, you've put me on the spot, but it's okay. So my name is Jeffrey Mbogwa. I work for Vivo Energy. And for the topic for today, I think where we come in is on the charging infrastructure. And having quite a large network of petrol stations is an opportunity to have these chargers on our sites. I confirm we have already done that with Basigo. We have a couple of chargers within our sites in Thika, at the river, and also along Wayakiwe. So it's something that is already part of our network, and we are looking to grow to more stations and additionally open up to other players. Currently, it's just for them, but that is in plan, at least in the coming years. Thanks.
Good. I wanted to hear whether you're planning.
If there's a question you can ask, I'm open.
I'll allow you to sit for now. Yeah, so,
Thank you.
So I think I'll throw it to the audience, maybe to ask a few questions, and especially to the bank. They can also put in a comment. Any bank, SACCO, or financial institution can throw in a comment, especially to the fears you have in end-user financing, whether it's an SME, a big corporate, government, etc. Yeah. Quick questions?
It is just an observation that in the new building code that we have in the country, it provides for that for any new commercial buildings and multi-dwelling units must designate at least 5% of their parking spaces for EV charging infrastructure. So I think if we have to go by these provisions and regulations, that means it will actually be also another way of getting on the upscaling the adoption of EVs. And of course, building does not limit anyone. You can be in the rural or peri-urban areas. So I think this is also part of the regulations that the government has put in place. There is also an anticipated but approved 292 million Kenya shillings that is going to partner, of course, with the petrol stations, with the Kenya Power and Lighting, to also have the charging infrastructure put across the country. Finally, we have something called the roadside station. We developed the regulations for establishment of roadside stations together with the Kenya National Highways Authority, and we did a study, and we mapped 21 stations from Mombasa along the corridor to Busia. And the provision of those roadside stations is that any private person, of course the government might not necessarily build, but the government might provide land. Any private person that is going to be interested in having an investment of a roadside station must provide for charging infrastructure as well. So those are the few things we are doing to also upscale the presence of charging infrastructure.
Before you sit down, just a quick one. Government has been mentioned extensively here regarding subsidies and the cost of the vehicle because of the tax issue. Tell us, maybe give us a little bit of leakage about the policy. Does it address some of these things, or we'll be back to our whining and...
No, you will not be back to your whining. We have very specific and deliberate proposals to the National Treasury, of course, through the policy. And the reason why I was not able to narrow down to those specifics is because the policy has not been launched officially. What I can promise you is that there will be quite some relief, because this is the president's pet project. He's honestly interested in having this done. So there will be quite some relief.
Both to the end consumer and the companies.
Exactly, yes.
Right. That's good to know. Any other questions, concerns, comments? or we just want lunch. I can see three mouths. Lunch. Which is very interesting. Maybe I'll throw in a quick fire round to our panelists to tell us what do you think will happen in the next 3 to 5 years in anticipation of the policy. How will the adoption of the end user financing? And I don't know why no Sacco Bank stood up because they are involved in this conversation. How do you see end user financing panning out in the next 3 to 5 years?
I can start. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, Kenyans will adopt to EVs, especially if the government policy on EVs is put in place. I've read it, and I think the suggestions are really good. It's going to be good for EVs. They will be affordable, and most Kenyans can actually put them on the road. The next question was on...
It's basically how you see the end user financing.
Yeah, the end user financing. I believe that banks will, as more and more banks are enrolling onto these programs and signing MOUs. I've seen several MOUs being signed with OEMs and distributors of electric vehicles. And I believe more and more banks will adopt such that you can literally go to your bank. You don't need to go to a bank that has signed an MOU, just like the way we do for the other vehicles. I believe that we'll be able to get our loans quickly and that all the banks will have adopted. The one thing I know about Kenyans is that we are early adopters to technology. Remember when we were moving from manual cars to automatic cars, there was a bit of a resistance. But within a very short time, we all adopted. And it's very difficult to find someone now driving a manual car unless it's out of choice or out of the business that you do. So look at the mobile phone, look at mobile money. Kenyans are early adopters. We adopt and we carry the thing with us. So I believe that EVs will be adopted as soon as the prices are better and affordability and loans are available. And we will push Kenya forward towards sustainability once that is done.
Thank you. Jasan?
Yeah, I do agree, but I'll want to give a challenge to, and by doing this, I will link this panel and the previous one. We need affordability all around, both for the OEM when they seek for financing to manufacture the bikes, and for the financiers also to lend to consumers, right? So if we can have that really worked on, probably government initiatives, and also, like I said, having data be the guiding factor, even to lenders that give capital to these people, right? So my challenge is, or what I predict in the next 3 years is probably, if that is not worked on, we will be in the same shoes. Because as it is right now, and for those who deal with two-wheelers, we are experiencing higher demand than supply. It's a good thing in the market, but when consistently we don't have enough supply, it kills off the momentum of adaptability from the end user. And the reason for this is because the OEMs are not getting financing, or even if they are getting, it's not enough and it's not on time. So in 3 years, I'll give this as a challenge. If both sources of capital are not worked on to make them cheaper, we might be in the same boat.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then finally, I think also reiterating Jennifer a bit, I think if, speaking for the four-wheelers, I think if the tax policy will improve, I think that should definitely be a huge boost for the EV adoption. If the ecosystem works together, I think also the charging network should be readily available, and then I'm quite optimistic. But there are a couple of conditions, as Jason mentioned, that need to be fulfilled. So I'm hopeful, but also I see it as a challenge, and yeah, let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best. Justin, we are hoping for the best. We have a good friend from Equity.
Yeah, thank you. I think I would like to do a follow-up on the first issue we had, where most people are saying they're not able to access the bank loans and all that. And on top of the incentives that we are asking from the government to lower the cost so that we can also reduce on the risk, I think also we need to look at, are we able to, when you're coming to borrow from the bank, are you able to build a strong business case? Because despite all the other things, there are things that the bank will look at that will make you either qualify for the loan or not qualify. So are you able to convince that your business is viable and it's profitable? Because I think every other bank will look at that. How are you going to, how is your repayment, you know? Just make sure by the time you come in, you have a good market demand proof, you know? Because if without that, then how will you convince the bank that you're going to be able to pay back your loan? And number two, do you have good financial documents? Are your documents audited, you know? You cannot be operating.
How about a startup?
I'll not talk on a startup. I've seen my colleague here who probably can talk on startups. But get your books audited. Just make sure by the time you're coming to borrow, your books are, you know, are on your project is very much bankable. You can even have a good bankable business plan. Do you have good cash flow? So make sure that those are some of the things that you're working on, because sometimes even when the banks reject to give you the loan, sometimes not just about the risk, but how your papers are. So work on that. You can, sometimes I hear there are people who get, we have consultants who can help you on that. And even at Equity Bank, we have Equity Bank, Equity Group Foundation, which does capacity building. And if you're one of our clients, then the foundation can work along with you to make sure that your project is bankable. So yeah, thank you. Just wanted to add on that.
Thank you very much. We have one. Okay, they are coming up. Rihanna Jayist.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon to you.
Yeah, my name is Charity Munyori from Equity Bank, and it's an opportunity to just say what we have, being the leading bank in this country. We are not ignorant of what you're doing. We really appreciate the e-mobility. And when I heard of this meeting, I had to come. The reason why I came a bit late, because we are very passionate about the e-mobility. And personally, I'm handling the motorbikes, yeah, the two-wheelers, as you call them. We are financing the cooperatives. You know, the motorbikes are in groups, right? Yeah, so we are financing through the motorbikes. We are enabling them to pay on daily basis around 206 shillings for 26 days, so that they rest for 4 days. We care about their mental health, so they must rest. And that's why we are doing it for 26 days. We are concerned about their savings. We are encouraging them, with their 26 days, that's 206 shillings per day. We are encouraging them to also save around 50 shillings per day. And the moment they have a bike, they must have insurance. So we're giving them insurance at 75 shillings per day, having paid 1940. You start with the 1940. You understand how premium works, right? Yeah, so they pay the 1940. The whole amount is around 18,100 per annum for comprehensive, 3 million shillings in case of an accident. That is death. That's to the passenger, right? You understand this premium conversation and the comprehensive. So we are doing it at 75 shillings per day. So looking at it, it's a total of 331. That is for those who are in groups. We also have for the individuals, but then for the individuals, again, there has to be a conversation, because now the risk is you alone. So we have to look at your statements, your ability to pay and all that. And then at the manufacturer's bit of it, we have to look at, is it a trade finance solution that you need? Then we come through. But then majority of them being startups, or they are not residents of this country, you understand how the bank works. When it comes to shareholders' money and all this conversation, then we call upon you to get some guarantee for us, and will be very easy to go about it because of the other CBK conditions. So let us have an engagement, one-on-one engagement. And the answer to you about the uptake, we must organize the the riders. They are organized, yes, but how well organized are they? At this time and age where we have the IT conversation happening, how are they pushing their monies? How are they, putting themselves together? They're still very manual. We can't continue with the manual. We have to engage them to go to the applications. We ensure their monies are safe. And I appreciate what the government has done. When we talk of waivers on e-motorbikes, when a motorbike is as low as I'm told, is it 95, others 130, they're still coming down. We hope they'll come lower so that many more young people can access them. Thank you very much. I'm in women and youth banking, and that's why I'm very passionate about the motorbikes, because it creates employment to the youth. Thank you.
Indeed. A round of applause. She's mentioned something very critical about scale. So whoever you're seeing they're lowering their prices, it's because of scale. And that's what you like as soon as we are well-funded. E-mobility is capital intensive. We need a lot of funds to bring the products here or to make the products here. I want also to put one gentleman who's doing something different on the spot, Eliud. I think Eliud was here. He has also some financing model for end users. Maybe you can speak a word about it. It's a unique model.
Hello, my name is Eliud Mongai. I represent a company called Yield Guru Investments. So what we are trying is basically borrowing from the SACCO model. We are trying to bring a solution or a platform where people can crowd invest into EV assets. So we also a startup quite early. Because all the challenges addressed, because for our model to work, all the assets need to be like in the country. But yeah, we are looking to go the crowd investing way and like provide a tech platform where the SACCO model can work in better transparency. So like what we are saying, these vehicles, the net income is quite high. So it can become a really good investable asset class that we really want to deploy in the market. So we actually in conversations also with the NSC because these assets can actually provide even higher yield, even better than the money market funds that are in the market. So like doing a successful pilot of this would really show the public, the investing public, that they can actually deploy, because all these monies that sit with banks, it actually belongs to the people. So if I can invest my money directly and actually see the cash flow, the good thing with M-Pesa and everything being a cashless society, that's what we are working towards. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I really like to see Greenmarks, Yield Guru, and Gift working together on such a model. I think it will be really superb. You have, okay?
I really appreciated the thought about demand outstripping supply. I mean, we did in the two-wheeler market, we did a survey of the asset fincos, and they told us that last year they believed they could sell 20 to 25,000 collectively. We did not even a quarter of that last year. So it's definitely a supply bottleneck. But I'm going to turn it back to you, right? Because the solution for this bottleneck is trade finance. And the way trade finance works is at the end of the day, there has to be a deep pocket off-taker who will take the asset, right? Because trade finance is just a temporary bridge solution, right? And the way the ecosystem is organized right now, you all are not providing firm offtake agreements. You're providing tentative offtake agreements where you say, well, look, we could sell 20,000, so if you give us 5,000, we'll sell them. But that's different than being willing to enter into a purchase order that then becomes a bankable instrument, and then we can finance the OEMs.
Awesome. I think I would like to close it there unless my panelists has anything. But just to say, I forgot about you. 30 seconds.
Just accepting the challenge from my friend there from M-Kopa. I appreciate about that the rev of premium, and we are going to give feedback. But I liked the way you danced with words around the word ignorance. I accept. So we are going to address that by seeking meetings with you so that you can educate us. All right. Thanks.
Much welcome.
Right, and as we move on to education and awareness, I believe some of us will be hitting the road to Addis come Sunday. So if you're available around 11, come to KICC. All we do is trying to create awareness, because this coming Sunday at KICC, Uhuru Park. At Uhuru Park, just to create awareness, we want to hit the road all the way to Addis. Some will dissipate along the way. There are those who are going to go all the way. Because until a user is able to see, touch, feel, I can tell you that's the only magic to do towards conversion. And as you can see, all of us need to go electric. Thank you very much. A round of applause to our great panelists. And, God bless.